Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. I'm going to jump back to the code and I'm going to scroll up to the top. So let's go ahead and work through this the first time the page is loaded. Again, we'll expect to see a username password login form. So we have our opening PHP tag here. We're starting the session with the session start function, and then we're initializing a variable called notices. Now these are notices that are going to end up displaying at the top of the screen. You saw them in the gray bar. Now if I jump back to the browser, you can see it right here. And what we're doing is creating a mechanism where we can add multiple notices and then print them out as an HTML unordered list. You see this bullet right here, which indicates that it's part of a list. And this mechanism, in order to store these notices, is something that we'll see sort of progress as we work through some different examples. I'm going to jump back to the code here. Next, we have a set of username password pairs, and we're storing them in the users array. Notice we have 3 items that will pass: admin, someone, and homestar. And next we're going to check to see if a form was submitted. So we're checking to see if request action is set. So like in our previous videos about forms, we're using a hidden input called action in order to allow us to test whether a form has been submitted or not. At this point, no form has, so we're going to skip this if statement because none of that code will execute. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a bit so we see the rest of the code. Next, we're going to check to see if the session username is set. Now, after a user logs in, what we're going to do is set this username, and so this is how we're testing whether someone has been logged in or not. At this point, they haven't, so isSet will return false, and this code won't execute. But since we have this else here, then this code will. And what we're doing is constructing that login form. We have an opening form tag. It's posting to test.php, which is the file that we're working on right now. There's a username input here. It's got a name of username, a password input with the name of password, a submit input with the value of login, and then a hidden input with our action value, which is login. And then finally, we're going to render our notices. So first, we're going to initialize our notices output because we're going to print it down here. And if we don't actually have any notices, we don't want to throw any error that says that this variable hasn't been set yet. And the way we're going to check to see if there have been any notices is we're going to use the count function on notices. Now we looked at count earlier, but what it will do is return a number that's the number of items inside of this array. At this point it's 0, so 0 is not bigger than 0, so this condition here will return false, and this code won't run at all. So we'll skip that, and then in the final line we're printing the notices output, which is right here, and then the output, which we defined right here.